Well, the first day of the conference was very successful, so much so that more Scientologists had to come in to enjoy the fun. Here's Matt Bracci from Washington, D.C. Matt was joined by this fellow who we think might be a private investigator. Of course, the person I enjoyed meeting the most was the ever-inquisitive Reverend John Carmichael.
I would be interested to know about a lot of things. I'd like to know about what Ralph Dorian revealed to Bob Minton about the Church of Scientology.
We all would like to know that.
Well, why don't we get Bob Minton to talk about it?
I'd like to know why.
We're talking about the internet, what he says on the internet. And I'd like to know about that stuff,
well,
you know?
Okay.
And I'd like to know about, I'd like to know about,
I would
like to know from Jesse Prince, for instance, whether he really does have an outstanding warrant for statutory rape in Illinois.
Cool.
I mean, these are questions I'd like to ask. But there's a lot of them, Mark, so let me ask.
I have a simple one.
You convince him to answer those questions in public.
I will ask.
We'll talk.
We'll show the tape just twice, and you have not given her a round of applause with the rest of the audience. I mean, you even dined with her yesterday at her own table.
Well, you know, I sat down first on that one, and I can only say that since she was involved in the old can instrumentally, then she must have been involved in the abuses that the old Cult Awareness Network was involved in.
But wouldn't you like to just, you know, thank her now officially for all the fine work she's done over the years?
What, for promoting deprogrammings and illegal activities? I hardly think that's something that anybody really wants to thank her for, but maybe there's somebody who wants to do that. You're making these statements and you're asking me these questions and you're giving me a chance to talk in public.
Absolutely.
I don't think everybody wants to be involved. I don't think anybody wants to really talk about Jesse Prince's oral sex with.
Well, that's a good point. You mentioned that to me yesterday. I told everybody about that comment you told me yesterday.
Did you ask Jesse about it?
I talked to everybody.
Ask Jesse about it.
Everybody hates Jesse now because you said that, and we've decided to disband FACTnet.
Did you ask Jesse about it?
Bob has thrown it away.
You didn't.
Yeah, Bob.
You didn't ask. You didn't even ask him. But see, you're probably assuming that I'm not telling the truth. But ask Jesse. Ask Bobby.
Okay.
Ask Bobby to ask Jesse.
All right.
Ask him, okay?
I gotta talk to you right now about the session coming right up.
I gotta talk to Arnie.
I think we should talk right now.
You do?
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
I really think so.
Wait. Why?
Because they're doing stuff.
I know.
That they invaded the ex-members session.
Yeah.
For ex-members only.
Yeah, Frank
and
just
they have
told
a
me.
lawyer with them.
Frank just told me.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I want you to know.
Well, I know that. I'm not doing anything illegal.
Frank's saying they're going to try and get thrown out.
What?
Frank's saying they're going to try and get thrown out.
The Scientologists tried to videotape one of the seminars and had their videotape confiscated.
But nevertheless, the sponsoring organization has the right to establish rules of conduct at the conference, and one of our rules is no unauthorized tape.
Just as a rock concrete is not allowed.
Exactly.
Which means, of course, they will try it today, and that's why they.
To make a long story short, we finally persuaded her to give the tape to the police officer. He filed a report and took the tape to the police department. So they brought the lawyer. The lawyer first went up to the police officer with more than at the time or the place. You got to go to the police department. Yeah. And I don't know if they did that or not. So that's why they brought the lawyer in. Well, now they got the lawyer here. They're going to do it.
Might as well use him. Yeah. Maybe they'll try the world's record of putting a new organization out of business. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we did.
It was certainly well attended by Scientologists. Here the Italian stallion joins Maureen O'Keefe.
Mark's so friendly.
I am friendly. I'm a nice fellow.
I'm Susan Morgan from Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm here because I just recently lost a case in Providence Superior Court against a dentist who fired me for refusing to take courses in Hubbard Management Technology.
Scientologists cannot guarantee my children's safety. They cannot guarantee my mother's safety unless I just stop my speech, because my speech is damaging to them. And it probably was. They're not used to having people giving them the metaphorical finger over and over and over again. It encourages more people to think freely and to criticize freely, and they don't like that. That's why they have packed this meeting with at least, I think, 3, 4, 5 of them, more than any other group here, I'm sure, any other meeting, because we are the enemies. The internet is their Vietnam. It's the Hydra with 20,000 heads. Well,
I was in the cult of Scientology for 16 years, and you know, I had this indoctrination, and you know, evil galactic overlord coming to your home soon. You know, just what people were saying about it, and that people were even just saying anything about it at all was just so over the top for me. I literally sat in that cyber cafe with tears streaming down my face.
Some people may feel here in this room that we've been a little bit harsh towards the Church of Scientology. I would like you to know that there is a continuing, ongoing, and cordial relationship between us and most of the gentlemen in here. Not only that, the Church of Scientology in Washington, D.C. has written me in the last month 2 additional letters requesting that I buy more books, take some courses, so, you know, it's all, you know, we try to keep on a friendly basis.
Regarding the Scientologists in the room, what are they thinking and what are they doing?
I can only imagine that they're extremely uncomfortable and they're bitter by what they're hearing here, and they're upset because, you know, they feel like they're being trespassed against in some way. These are the people that we're actually trying to help. And they'll be helped someday. Someday they'll just wake up just like I did and say, my God, what was I thinking?
It was mentioned that there is an assumption in the public that celebrities are too smart to fall for certain things. Oh boy. John Travolta, Richard Chamberlain, Shirley MacLaine, Evel Knievel, Lee Merriweather. The list goes on forever and ever. These are celebrities, yes, but they're incredibly dense in certain directions. Earlier this evening, in the last half hour, I told you about lots of things that sound really silly. How about octopuses that gave rise to our existence on Earth, and we're on a prison planet here? That sounds pretty silly. Oh, that's Scientology, pardon me. That's a religion, too.
Well, the Trapdoor Spiders was as I say, a group of science fiction writers. I was an honorary member, and I attended many of their meetings. And at George O. Smith's house, both times I met Hubbard when he was there. Nobody liked him. In my opinion, Hubbard was an evil man, and a willfully evil man. He knew what he was doing. And I knew John Double Campbell very well, too. And Campbell fell for him. A.E. Van Vogt.
It was amazing, yeah, for a while they did, yeah.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And Campbell always claimed he was healed of his asthma, you know. And he still went around and used this inhaler all the time, you know. Dianetics healed his asthma. Right. Oh, well.
You invite these people here and then you get deluded by the same propaganda that you're putting out. People don't believe it.
You think the cult
They don't
awareness
believe this stuff
network-
outside of here.
Johnny, get your horn up going. Johnny, get your horn and blow it. Johnny, get your horn up going. Dee what, dee what, dee what. Johnny, get your horn up going. Never mind the corn we growing. Johnny, get your horn up going. Dee what, dee what, dee what.
That's false. That is a false thing to say.
That's fine.
You're interrupting a public assembly. That's your warning, sir, please.
Academics don't believe this stuff. They think this is phony baloney. They do. And people who are in Scientology know that this sort of stuff is nonsense. That's why your propaganda doesn't lead to a mass exodus. It never has. And you guys have been going at it for years and years. Scientology keeps growing.
For the last 6 weeks before we finally blew, Vaughn was up at INT. And they were holding him up there. They wouldn't let him go. And I'm just sitting there. I'm putting on my Academy Award-winning performance as the freedom editor, the most dedicated freedom editor you have ever met, because I knew that if I acted any other way, they would never let us see each other. And Mike Sutter was calling me every night at 3 a.m. How you doing? Did you hear from Vaughn today? How does he sound? Well, you know, do you think he's going to come through this? Oh, I'm sure he will, Mike. He's just sounding great. He's sounding great. I think he's going to come to his senses, you know, very soon. And I'm doing this whole thing just so they won't make me not see Ron. And meanwhile, they did an eval. And part of the handling of the eval was that all the Freedom Office staff were going to be promoted to OC-INT. Well, in order to be in OC-INT, you had to be INT-qualled. Well, to be INT-qualled, I couldn't be married to somebody who wasn't in the Sea Org. Well, if Vaughn was going to route out, then I had to divorce him. So every single day, Carol Martiniano was sitting down with me and saying, well, listen, Stacy, you know, I want you to think about this. I really do. I mean, I know your marriage is important to you, but you know, you have to understand that he's really holding you back to him if he's not going to be in the Sea Org. Do you think he's going to route out or not? I'm sure that this is going to be handled. You know, I don't even think we ought to deal with this right now because I'm sure it's going to all be fine. You know, I don't even want to get into it. Every day they're doing this. And I've got to get through my knots because I've got all these case problems. And the only way to deal with those are to get my knots, right, Jesse?
Right. Okay,
so,
now I'm just going to clear command with you.
So,
now, what does this mean? Do you have overts against David Miscavige?
That means I'm going to the RPF.
It sound like this, and that's the needle hitting the bevel.
Jesse, remember when you got to come in and ask me that question that I said Dan was an SP? This was so horrible. What? I had already reported myself to ethics and said I will not work with David Miscavige anymore. I won't do it. He's a psychopath.
I don't even write it. I'm just like looking at my pen, twirling it. I looked at Stacey. I said, Stacey, put the cans down.
He did.
You need some sleep. Come on.
There are some people who believe that it was an imprudent act to shoot the shotgun and scare whoever was in that car. You know, my point...
Who's the somebody? The people in the car.
Who's the who, right?
Yeah, right. Who's the who?
Well, you know, let me put it this way. Lucy Morgan said, you know, I bet those boys in that car had more than just tracks in the field here.
Yeah, right. I thought you shot at me.
Where were you?
I was walking down the street.
Right, let me tell you.
Hey, listen, I know when it goes boom, boom, boom. But I know, and we run to each other. Do you hear the... You act like I understand this. I swear to God. I actually was pissing my pants. I swear to God. And that's like this guy is like, oh my God. I did, you know what I did? I knocked on your door. And you say hello. I said hello, and
you never. Gerard, you're the one who took the picture from up at the top of the garage.
I did not take the picture.
Who did?
My friend Chris.
Oh, okay. We thought it was you who was up there.
in the panel today? Yeah.
No.
That's Aaron.
That was the first time. I swear that was the first time I ever knew you. Or anything like it. I swear to God, it was just a grassroots moment. That it was great. I swear.
Oh,
Is that
God.
like the grassroots soup can? 50 slugs
No, it's just
one day?
a bunch of guys who were just really getting fed up.
That's kind of like, what's her name's?
Could you
what's
stop?
the girl's name? Mary.
It's just,
Did you guys have?
Can you not film this? We're actually trying to talk about.
How many?
Okay, he's our cameraman.
He's a fact. He's in charge of
Go on the
FACTnet
internet. I don't know
the
if
FACTnet
Gerard
Films
wants to be
Division.
on the internet.
The FACTnet Films Division. He's been on the internet. You're all over the internet. He's all over the internet already. This is FACTnet Films.
What's the problem?
I think it was an excellent idea to rename Cult Info the Leo J. Ryan Foundation. I think that's perfect. It's appropriate in hundreds of different ways.
It was very informative, and I met a lot of wonderful people, and I have renewed faith in my fight.
So I think it was very informative for all of us concerned, and I hope something positive comes from this.
I think the conference was a good first step in regards to finally getting dialogue on the issue between the religious movements and the people who are promoting the theories, which I consider to be false. And I think that if this forum continues, that there can eventually come a conclusion which will be for the benefit of everybody involved.
I was able to meet counter groups of so many different stripes. There's evangelical Christians, Jewish, despite even internal dissent, such as the response to Randy's curmudgeon speech against all kinds of superstition. I think there's a lot in common that we can agree on, such as beliefs are probably sacrosanct, but the methods, the abuse of methods are not. And for me, as long as Scientology continue these criminal acts than continue to fight them.
I loved it. It was great, extremely educational, and it was a bunch of fun. Tons of fun.
We had a chance to talk to all the other people in the movement and really get coordinate with them, and the thing that was nicest about it was that they were really glad that we were here. They really are proud of what FACTnet is doing, and they're really glad that we're doing what we're doing with regard to Scientology.
For me, the most important thing that came out of this was the knowledge that the counter-cult and anti-cult community is a much tighter, closer-knit community than I ever realized. And I think that we established here beyond any reasonable doubt that FACTnet fits just right into that community, and people are proud of the accomplishments that FACTnet has already achieved on the internet through their dissemination of information, and we're going to keep trying to make it better. That's about it.